Have you ever weighed yourself on a scale? Counted how many minutes it takes to run around a track? Or have you ever skied several kilometers? Maybe you've kept track of how much time it took for a car to travel a specific distance. Or perhaps you've used measuring spoons when cooking something in the kitchen. Calculated the distance necessary to get a touchdown. Or perhaps you've had to give your pet a specific amount of food. If you've ever had to do the grocery shopping, perhaps you've had to buy the right amount of food. All these activities involve the process of measuring. Measuring is a very important activity that we do every day. It's also an important process carried out in science. During the next few minutes, we're going to explore some of the ways we measure things in our everyday lives, as well as some of the ways things are measured in science. What is measuring? Generally speaking, measuring involves the process of using tools to calculate the amount of something, such as distance or volume. Numbers are usually used to express a value of measurement. Why is it important to measure things? Suppose you wanted to bake cookies for dessert. After gathering all the ingredients, it's time to start mixing. You decide. How do you know how much of each ingredient you need to use? The recipe includes specific measurements for each ingredient so that your cookies will come out soft and tasty instead of hard and bad tasting. By specifically measuring things, we're able to describe them better. Without measurement, we'd live in a very confusing world. We regularly measure things such as mass, distance, volume, and time, to name just a few. Similarly, in science, measurement is very important in describing and understanding living and non-living things. In science, a wide variety of tools are used to measure different things. Some of these tools are quite simple, such as a beaker used to measure liquids, while other tools are quite complex, such as a global positioning system that uses satellite signals to measure distances and to pinpoint exact locations on Earth. Let's take a look at some of the ways you can measure things. If you live in the United States, you're used to measuring things such as the distance of a football field in yards, distance on roads in miles, and the length of smaller objects in feet or inches. These different units of measurement are based on the English system of measurement. But if you live in Canada or many other countries, you use a different system of measurement. Scientists also use this other system of measurement. You decide. What is this other system of measurement called? The system of measurement used by scientists is called the metric system. The metric system is also referred to as the International System of Units, or SI. In many ways, the metric system is easy to use because it's a decimal system. This means that it's based on the number 10 and multiples of 10. For example, in measuring length in the metric system, 10 millimeters equal 1 centimeter, 100 centimeters equal 1 meter, and 1,000 meters equal 1 kilometer. All these units of measurement involve multiples of 10. Let's now take a closer look at measuring length. American football is played on a field that has a length of 100 yards. whereas soccer, a game originally developed in Europe, is played on a field that's about 100 meters long. You compare. Which is longer, a meter or a yard? As you can see, this meter stick is slightly longer than this yardstick. Both are used to measure length. Height is a measure of length, and distance is also a measure of length. In the metric system, the basic unit of length is the meter. There are 100 centimeters in a meter. In the English system, length is measured in inches, feet, yards, or miles. This fingernail is about 1 centimeter long. If you look closely at this metric ruler, you can see that each centimeter is divided into 10 parts, called millimeters. A millimeter is quite small. This coin is about 3 millimeters thick. If a longer distance needs to be measured, such as the length of a river, then units called kilometers are used. There are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. Road distances in countries that use the metric system are measured in kilometers. All objects you see on Earth have mass. Plants and animals have mass, as do our bodies. Mass is the amount of matter in an object. Even though this golf ball is smaller than this tennis ball, the golf ball contains more matter and therefore has greater mass. The basic unit of mass in the English system is the pound. There are 16 ounces in 1 pound, whereas in the metric system, the basic unit of mass is the gram. This small nut weighs about 1 gram. This large bag of jelly beans weighs 1 kilogram. There are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. One common way to measure mass is with a device called a balance. A balance balances an object of unknown mass against weights until an equal balance is achieved. This type of balance is called a triple beam balance. Each beam has different size weights, called riders, which slide from right to left to balance a given mass. For example, this rock has a mass of 267 grams. Digital scales such as this one are becoming increasingly popular to calculate the mass of objects. Let's now take a look at how volume is measured. You compare. What has more volume, the balloon or this baseball? Even though the baseball has more mass, it has less volume than the balloon. What is volume? Volume is the amount of space something takes up. The basic unit of volume in the metric system is the liter. This bottle contains 1 liter of drinking water. If you are cooking in a country that uses the metric system, you would measure out liquid ingredients in units called milliliters. This measuring spoon contains about 5 milliliters of liquid. There are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. In science, a graduated cylinder is often used to measure the volume of liquids. This graduated cylinder contains 78 milliliters of liquid. The volume of solids can be measured in a couple of different ways. The volume of solids that have a regular square or rectangular shape can be easily calculated using a metric ruler. By measuring the length, height, and width, and then multiplying all 3, the volume can be computed. Volume of solids is commonly expressed in cubic centimeters or cubic meters. With smaller, irregularly shaped solids, it's possible to calculate the volume using a process called water displacement. One way this can be done is by filling a graduated cylinder with water to a certain point, such as 50 milliliters, then placing the object in the water. See how the level rises to 60 milliliters. You compute. What's the volume of the rock? The volume is computed by subtracting 50 milliliters from 60 milliliters to get a volume of 10 milliliters. 10 milliliters of water is equivalent to 10 cubic centimeters, making the volume of the rock 10 cubic centimeters. One of the wonderful features of the metric system is the way different units of measurement are interchangeable. For example, in the metric system, 1 milliliter of water occupies a volume of 1 cubic centimeter and has a mass of 1 gram. This is a cubic centimeter with dimensions of 1 centimeter high by 1 centimeter wide by 1 centimeter long. This graduated cylinder holds 1 milliliter of water. That is equivalent in volume to 1 cubic centimeter. In turn, 1 milliliter of water has a mass of 1 gram. Water has a density of 1 gram per cubic centimeter. Density is a measure of how much matter is packed into a certain volume. Objects such as this marble have a density greater than 1 gram per cubic centimeter, and they sink, whereas objects such as styrofoam that have a density of less than 1 float. So, as you can see, the metric system is very convenient when comparing mass, volume, and density. When you have a fever, it's common to take your temperature with a thermometer. A thermometer most often consists of a small glass tube with liquid in it. Today, digital thermometers are increasingly common. Normal body temperature is around 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you're running a fever, it will be higher. Fahrenheit is commonly used to measure temperature in countries using the English system. But in countries using the metric system, the Celsius scale is used. While 98.6 is normal body temperature in Fahrenheit, the Celsius equivalent is 37 degrees. The Celsius scale is commonly used in science and is based on the freezing and boiling points of water. You decide. What's the temperature of boiling water in degrees Celsius? As you can see, the temperature of boiling water is 100 degrees Celsius, and the temperature at which water freezes is 0 degrees Celsius. The freezing and boiling points of water are quite easy to remember using the Celsius scale. During the past few minutes, we've explored some of the different ways we measure things, both in our daily lives and in science. We explored some of the differences between the English system of measurement and the metric system. We discussed some of the ways length can be measured and the different units of length in the metric system. The measurement of mass was discussed using a balance, and some of the various ways volume can be calculated were also discussed. We looked at some of the ways various units are interchangeable in the metric system for mass and volume of water. So the next time you do some baking, go running, or read the temperature on a thermometer, Think about some of the ways we measure things. You just might look at your world a little differently. Fill in the correct word to complete the sentence. Good luck, and let's get started. Number 1. The system uses inches to measure length. Number 2. The metric system is based on multiples of. Number 3. The is the basic unit of metric length. Number 4. Is the amount of matter in an object. Number 5. This device is called a. Number 6. There are 1,000 in a kilogram. Number 7. This graduated cylinder contains 50 of water. Number 8. 1 gram of water has a volume of 1 centimeter. Number 9. Countries using the metric system measure temperature using the scale. And number 10. Water freezes at degrees Celsius.